There are 3 words, just 3 innocent little words that make beautiful, model hot women spread their legs for you and beg you to fuck them. And when you know these words and internalize them, they make you absolutely bulletproof. Bulletproof to rejection, bulletproof to feeling insecure or shy. These 3 words turn you into a social god who's able to approach and banter with literally any girl on earth. And they make you irresistibly attractive and magnetic to every woman you meet. So what are these 3 words? They are obviously, you are enough. You are enough is the belief system, the meta program that lets you pull perfect 10s, even if you're ugly, broke, too old, too young, weird looking, or anything else. This is the key that unlocks the door of getting endless, beautiful women into your life. And yet no one actually believes this. Even guys who've slept with hundreds of girls and had beautiful girlfriends, even they, deep down, still don't believe they're enough. And the reason why is that you have been hypnotized. You have been hypnotized by consumer culture, by social media, and also by women themselves to believe that you have to be special, superior, different, or somehow better in order to pull a hot girl. And that is simply not true. The reality is you have everything you need within you right now to go out tonight and come home with 2 beautiful girls on your arm who want to experiment and have a threesome with you. You do not need anything else other than to be the guy that you already are right now, and simply trust that you are attractive. I used to suck with girls and I spent 20 years getting rejected and being alone, but my life instantly turned around the day I first internalized the belief that there's no reason why you're not enough. I remember the first night I went out after fully having that epiphany, met these 2 girls in a bar, tall, beautiful, posh girls on vacation in my country. They were from Hollywood, California. One of them was black, the other was white. They were about 21 or 22. I ended up being so calm and so chill in that interaction and just fully assuming that they were already into me that I wound up taking both these girls home with me, and I had sex with one of them that night. It was very, very easy. There was no tension or difficulty at all. I wasn't trying to game the girls or make them like me. It was pretty much just a very chill conversation about casual topics until, before you know it, I'm naked in bed with some stunning young girl. I just met her an hour before and her tongue's down my throat. Now, this is despite the fact that I am not and was not then a good looking guy. I've got a big nose, sort of ugly face. I'm not tall. I've got acne scars. I'm not the type of guy who women typically envision when they want to have casual sex with a stranger. Actually, I'm pretty much the exact opposite of that. I'm basically just a little dork. And yet I've had sex and one night stands with, at this point, well over 100 women, some of them ugly, but many of them extremely beautiful. The last girl who picked me up for casual sex was 22. I'm 34. She's a tall blonde girl studying science, very smart, pretty, thin, and she basically treats me like I'm a human sex toy, as you can see from these texts here. And why is that? It's not because I'm some super good looking guy. I'm honestly not even that good in bed. I usually come after 30 seconds in most cases, to be honest with you. But it's because of the vibe. I just have such a relaxed and chill vibe with girls that they feel very comfortable having casual sex with me and using me as their personal boy toy. It's very much a sort of Hank Moody type of vibe, like in Californication. Like you just sort of assume these little college girls all want to use you as their sexual experiment, and then they kind of do. And what is the key to this? Again, it's actually extremely simple to explain. You just have to internalize the one most important belief there is, and that belief is, I am enough, or you are enough, or he is enough, they are enough. So what does that mean? Well, in this video, for the first time ever, I'm going to do a deep dive into this concept and really hammer it in so that you fully understand it. But before I do, I want to talk to you about hypnosis. To hypnotize someone means to put them into a trance and give them certain suggestions. And when they wake up from the trance, they believe those suggestions unquestionably. You may have seen hypnotists on stage or heard about them. They can take someone from the audience, put them in a trance and make them believe they're a chicken. And the person will walk around clucking like a chicken and fully acting like a chicken. But hypnosis is no joke. It's really used in very serious things. For example, there are doctors who can hypnotize people to be able to go through surgery without anesthesia and yet feel no pain whatsoever. So hypnosis is a very real force, a very serious thing. And the whole key to attracting women naturally, magnetically, is in hypnosis. But the catch is, you do not need to be hypnotized to attract women. What you actually need is to be de-hypnotized. If you can't attract the girls you want, if you can't approach women, if you're in scarcity with women and with sex, you have been hypnotized. You are in a state of hypnosis right now. And at the very root of this hypnosis is a single belief, a core belief or meta belief. And this is the underlying belief that I am not enough. I am not enough to attract the women I want. I'm not enough to make them happy or to sexually satisfy them. There's something fundamentally inferior about me specifically, and so I'm not enough to attract beautiful women. That's the core belief. That's the hypnosis you're in. And that's the hypnosis that is reinforced everywhere you look and by everything you see. Why? Because every other guy is in that same trance as well. And this makes it really, really tricky to break this trance, because once you break out of it, other people are still in it. And so by looking at them, by listening to them, by imitating them, you inevitably fall back into the I'm not enough trance, even if you were able to free yourself from it for a time. And so what this actually requires, it's not just that you need to internalize this belief that I am enough. You also need to realize that every other guy is also enough. And you need to realize that they are literally asleep. They are hypnotized. They're in a state of hypnosis. They're deluded. And you have to actually begin to realize and accept that virtually every single man you're ever going to meet or listen to online for the rest of your life is insane. At least on this particular question. They might be very lucid and totally reasonable when it comes to other things, but when it comes to understanding attraction and male-female dynamics, virtually every man on earth is insane and they are delusional. And you have to treat them with compassion and a degree of patience while not being drawn into their insane worldview. It's sort of like if every man on earth had been hypnotized into a weird cult where they genuinely believe they have to spin around in a circle 40 times before bed each night or else they're going to die in their sleep. And you could even show them like, look, I don't spin around and I'm fine, but they still don't believe it, you know? So again, you have been hypnotized. Everyone has been hypnotized. And the core of that hypnosis is the belief that I'm not enough. And now this belief is usually not conscious. Most people don't necessarily articulate it in those words consciously. This belief is down in the unconscious and it's felt as a feeling or almost a sensation more than it's a conscious belief that you would put into words. And if you want to make this belief more conscious, which is important prior to getting rid of it, a good way of doing that is to go out to a trendy bar or nightclub where there's a lot of beautiful women around and then go and cold approach some of those women. Or you could even do this in like a shopping mall or anything like that. Really doesn't matter where, just as long as there's pretty girls around. Now, if you're like most guys, when you do this or when you try to do this, you're going to immediately feel an enormous amount of inner resistance. And the resistance is completely out of proportion to the situation itself. Meaning, if you see that group of pretty girls and you try to make yourself go up and talk to them and say, you know, like, hey, I'm Michael, nice to meet you. Just totally normal, friendly, unobjectionable. No one could ever possibly get mad or offended at this. You know, you're not trying to be a wise guy. You're just being friendly. You're being social in a social environment. Yet try to do this sober and you will immediately experience this massive feeling of resistance, fear, panic. Your body will start responding as if you are literally about to die. You know, heart pounding in the chest, sweating. You're fully in fight or flight mode as if you've just encountered a serious threat to your life. Now, why is that? That's hypnosis. It's not a reasonable response to the situation. And this feeling of fear at approaching those girls is fundamentally rooted in a feeling of unworthiness, inferiority. I am not enough to approach those girls. I'm not enough to be able to socialize with them, even just in a friendly way. I'm certainly not enough to attract them or have them actually desire me in a sexual way. Now, we could talk for hours about how we get conditioned with this belief. You know, we could talk about childhood trauma. We could talk about being rejected in the past and extrapolating a belief system from those rejections, but it's not really relevant how this hypnosis got installed. The important thing is to be able to observe it in ourselves. And for that, you need to go out and take action. Again, like I said, you've got to make this conscious first in order to get rid of it. And again, the core belief that I'm not enough is not conscious in most people. You know, most guys would not consciously say that, you know, I am inferior. There's something fundamentally wrong with me, specifically me. There's something fundamentally unattractive about me that cannot be changed. Most men hold that belief, but they're not conscious that they hold it. What they are usually more conscious of are the smaller branch beliefs of that one core meta belief. So you can visualize this like it's a tree. You know, pretty much everyone has this core belief that I'm not enough to be attractive to the women I want. That's like the root and the trunk of this belief tree. I'm inadequate, I'm inferior, I'm not enough. It's not really expressed in words though. It's just kind of a feeling. It's a sensation that occurs when you're in the situation. However, from that core unconscious assumption comes different strategies to try to cope with this. And these are the different sub-beliefs that then get built on top of that. So you can imagine them as branches coming out of the trunk of that tree. And these branch beliefs are different for different guys because different guys develop different strategies for coping with their core assumption that they're fundamentally inferior. For example, for some guys, a big branch belief might be that they need to be good looking to attract a hot girl. So the belief structure here is I'm not enough as I am, but if I could just become good looking enough and improve my looks, then I would be enough. And so a guy with this sub-belief will always be fussing over his looks. He'll always be looking in the mirror before he goes out, making sure everything is just right, fussing over his hair. He'll obsess over wearing certain clothes, certain jewelry. Or another branch belief that a lot of guys develop is that I'll be enough when I have a certain amount of money. I'll be enough when I'm rich, when I'm successful. And a good question to ask in that case is, how much money do you need? What is the actual dollar amount at which point you'll go from being not enough to being enough? And when you put it like that, you can kind of realize it's a ridiculous belief to hold. When you have an unconscious root belief that you're inferior, as everyone here watching this does, because every man does, there is no amount of money that's ever going to change how you feel about yourself. You might think, oh, well, if I was a millionaire, I could be on a yacht with Instagram models, I'd have finally made it. But the reality is, if you talk to those guys who've actually achieved that and who do that, what it looks like in practice, in real life, is usually it's them sitting on a yacht with those models, but they still feel inferior, they still feel awkward, they still feel like they're not good enough to talk to those models. And so they just sit there on that yacht looking at their phone, scrolling Instagram. And it's all just kind of boring and awkward. Wherever you go, there you are. There's no amount of money which is going to fix your underlying feelings of inferiority around hot women. And that's because the sub-belief that I'll be enough when I have money was just an outgrowth of the much older, deeper, and more fundamental belief that I'm not enough as I am right now. And if you're not enough now, then you're not going to be enough in the future. You're either enough now or you're never going to be enough. You have to get rid of the idea that you're going to feel like you're enough at some point in the future. You're not. No matter what you get, no matter what you accomplish, you're never going to feel more enough than you feel right now. Because feeling that you're enough, knowing that you're enough, is something that can only happen in the present moment. It can never happen in the future because the future does not exist. Every single moment you have ever experienced, every moment you will ever experience is now. It will happen now. And so if you're not enough now, you are never going to be enough because there is literally nothing other than the now. So the fundamental belief system you need to have to pull a hottie is that you are enough as you are now. You don't need to change. You don't need to improve. You can change and you will improve, but you don't need to in order to be enough. You are already enough to be attractive to any girl as you are now. Now, why are you enough? The answer is because you're a man. You're a man and she's a woman. You have masculine energy, masculine polarity. And so there's an innate potential attraction between any man and any woman that is always present. So long as you're a man, so long as you've got masculine hormones, testosterone, a dick, etc., then you are enough to be attractive to any woman on this earth without exception. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter how you're dressed. It doesn't matter if your personality is kind of dry or boring. It doesn't matter if you're kind of weird looking or different looking, or, you don't look like the typical kind of guy that a girl like that would normally get attracted to. It doesn't matter if you don't match up to the normative standards of masculinity of the other guys in your environment. You are enough to be attractive to any girl as you are without changing yourself or improving yourself in any way, just because you're a man and she's a woman. And these things naturally attract each other like two poles of a magnet. And this is actually very, very easy to prove. This is a little thought experiment you can do. It's an idea I first learned about many years ago from a guy called Alexander. You should check him out. And we can call it the desert island paradigm. Very simple. Let's say you're in a plane crash. The plane crashes on a desert island and there's only two survivors. It's you and some beautiful girl. And for this, I want you to think of a girl who is like legitimately out of your league, out of my league, out of everyone's leagues. A famous supermodel like Rosie Huntington-Whiteley, like tall, beautiful, untouchably gorgeous, just someone who is legitimately unattainable, and it's unimaginable that you would ever possibly have sex with this girl. Well, if you and her were stranded on a desert island together, would you wind up having sex? Yeah, probably. It's actually kind of obvious that you would. It's like, yeah, no shit. Men and women like to get together. It's not that complicated. After several days, weeks, months together on that island, would she wind up becoming attracted to you in that scenario? Yes. And that's because despite any weirdness about you, despite any flaws or even like deformities, you have essential masculine characteristics which are innately attractive to women. You have masculine energy. You have certain qualities, physically and mentally, that women are just innately drawn to and attracted to, because women like maleness. and you are inherently an embodiment of maleness. And so if you and a woman, any woman, are together alone for long enough, inevitably she is going to become attracted to you. And it's going to be roughly linear. In other words, she'll be more attracted to you on day 2 than she was on day 1, and she'll be more attracted to you on day 7 than she was on day 2. And the more time you spend together, the more attracted to you that girl is going to get. Until eventually she's going to be pretty much gagging for it. Like, she just needs dick, and you can provide that. You have the technology. So attraction between a man and a woman is not something that has to be generated artificially with tricks or something. It's not like you have to cast some kind of spell on her or do anything to trigger that attraction. Attraction is a natural process, like rolling down a hill, that happens over time spent together and which cannot be prevented. And what that means is that you can relax. You don't need to work on being more attractive to women. You already are attractive enough. And you don't need to be the most attractive guy or even a very attractive guy to get laid. You don't need to be highly attractive to sleep with beautiful women. You only need to be attractive enough. And what is attractive enough? That's defined by, if you and this girl were alone on a desert island, would she sooner or later want to have sex with you? And for 99% of you watching this, the answer is already yes. Now, maybe there are some fringe edge cases, like a guy who has leprosy and open sores all over his body, or he has like 3 eyes or 4 legs or something. I don't know. Like, okay, maybe in that case, yeah, even on the desert island, the girl would still be repulsed. But for the vast majority of guys, that is not the case. The vast majority of guys who are watching this are just some variation of a normal, good enough guy, and that's all you need to be attractive to any woman. Now, the only catch here is that you can only become attractive to the girl to the point where she wants to have sex with you through time and isolation. In other words, being one-on-one together. Having time together where you can emotionally connect and where she can gradually become attracted to those innate masculine qualities that you naturally have. But they're going to take some time to shine through. There's an old saying that says, men become attracted to women like flipping on a light switch, whereas the way women become attracted to men, it's more like slowly turning up a volume knob. And that's true, but I think a much better metaphor to use, though, is that women become attracted to you in the same way that an oven heats up. Now, many of you probably don't cook, so this metaphor might not be all that useful, but you can just take it from me that, when you're cooking something in an oven, the oven takes some time to warm up first. It takes like 20 minutes or more before it actually gets hot enough to fully cook the food. Now, the problem is, guys think, and they have been hypnotized to believe, that women become attracted to us in the same way we become attracted to them. In other words, that it's going to be instant, like a light switch, but it's not. It never is. And so what you're doing there is, it's like if you wanted to cook a piece of chicken and you put it in the oven, you put the oven on the highest heat and you close the door, but then 2 seconds later you open up the door and you look at the chicken and it's still raw and you say, but it's not cooked at all. And so on that basis, you throw out the chicken and you conclude, this oven is broken. This oven sucks. I need a better oven. I need a more expensive oven. You look at other guys who do know how to cook a piece of chicken and you say, I need their oven. The problem is they have a better oven than mine, a more fancy oven, a more expensive oven. But the problem is not the oven. In other words, the problem is not you. The problem is not your physical body, your looks, or even your personality or anything like that. The real problem is you have a misapprehension about how attraction actually works. And the way it works is that it takes time. The girl has to be exposed to you one-on-one for long enough for her attraction to you to develop. She is not going to be attracted to you from the beginning almost ever. This is something you've really got to understand and get in your head, because this is the root of all your other problems in dating and attracting women. Take it back to that desert island. You and Rosie Whiteley are on that island together right after the crash. Are you going to have sex with her within 30 seconds? Are you going to have sex with her on the first night? No, very unlikely. Probably not. I mean, with me, yes, I could probably make it happen on night 1, but with most guys, no. It's not going to happen on the first night. It's not even going to happen in the first week. It will happen eventually, though, the more time you spend together and the more she naturally begins to feel the pull of that masculine energy that you have and that you are. And again, this is something that happens for you. It's not something you have to make happen. It's automatic. It just happens on its own over time. You also can't really do anything to speed it up. You just have to be patient. Again, like cooking a chicken. All you really need to do in the meantime is just not make any serious mistakes. Now, I want to get really clear on how you can apply this and make it work in a second. And I'm going to talk about how this process looks step by step with every single girl I've ever picked up from cold approach to taking her home that night for sex, because it's always the same underlying process. It always works the exact same way. And I'm going to explain that process in a second. But first, while you're here, make sure you grab my free book, The Ultimate Guide to Making Beautiful Women Approach You. You can get that right now for free. Just click the link in the description or the pinned comment below. Go pause the video and do that now. And in this short PDF, I'm going to reveal 5 secrets I've discovered over the years that make women approach me pretty much every night I go out. These secrets work to compel beautiful women to make the first move on you, no matter your looks, age, or money. It's great if you're lazy, as I sometimes am. It's very often happened to me that I go out, I don't approach a single girl, I just stand around, do 1 or 2 of these tricks I learned, and pretty soon a hot girl comes along and approaches me, chat to her, take her home, we have sex. And so now I've just got a new buddy in my rotation, all from doing nothing. No approaching, no being rejected, just literally stand there and they come to me. So if you want to learn how to do that, and any guy can, by the way, make sure to download my free guide right now. Get this while I'm still giving it away for free. And you can do that by, again, pause the video, click the link in the description below right now, and sign up with your email address, and I'll send you the book. And when you sign up to get this, you're also going to be subscribed to my daily email newsletter, which is also free. And I'm going to send you a new article about dating advice, game, attraction every single day. People love the newsletter. This is where all my best content comes out. It's not here on YouTube. It's mostly in the email newsletter. So sign up to the newsletter and grab your free gift right now. You can do that by clicking the link in the pinned comment below. And now back to the video. Okay, so we've been talking about this idea that you are enough. You are enough to be attractive potentially to any woman on earth just because you're a man and she's a woman. And the simple proof of that, or the way you can kind of test it, is take any girl you feel inferior to or like you're not enough for. Like again, if you go to some trendy nightclub, you see the hot girls there. They're pretty, they're all in cliques, they're in groups. Kind of like the hot girls in high school who maybe ignored you or even teased you. And you might see these girls talking to some guy who's, very tall, handsome, jacked, young, bigger than you, very well put together guy. And you might think like, well, I don't look like that guy, so I guess I'm not enough to be attractive to that girl. But this is wrong because again, take any girl, I don't care who it is, even a literal supermodel, if you and her were stranded on a desert island together for months, would she wind up getting attracted to you? Yes. Answer is always yes. And that's all you need. That's what you're enough means. Yes, you can improve yourself if you want. You can make yourself higher value than you are now. You can go to the gym, get in better shape. You can get better clothes, better style, a better haircut. All of that stuff is great and it will give you more confidence, more swagger. It will help you on the first impression you make. But ultimately, it's not necessary to be attractive because attraction is something that's naturally going to develop between you and a woman anyway over time spent together. Now, I'm going to show you in just a second how to use this in a very practical way to actually go out and get laid with a beautiful girl tonight. But before I do that, I want to address one area where this whole you are enough concept does not work and where it does actually break down completely. And you need to understand this in advance or else you're going to be confused. And simply put, this idea that you are enough does not apply in things like online dating. It does not apply to messaging girls long distance through a dating app or through direct messages over Instagram or something. In that environment, in those domains, you are not enough. Probably. You might be, but it's very, very unlikely. And the reason why is that in online dating or texting or any sort of disembodied interaction, which happens through a screen or a telephone, the girl has nothing to go on except your pictures. And therefore, she will immediately reject you and you'll be filtered out unless you have really, really good pictures. Pictures that flatter you, that make you look handsome. And for that, you're going to either need to be extremely handsome and photogenic naturally, which the vast majority of guys are not, or you're going to need to get really serious about getting good pictures of yourself. That means investing money in this, hiring a professional photographer, treating this like it's a job. Now, that's not to say you can't get results with online dating if you don't do that. You definitely can, you might. However, you need to completely disidentify from the poor results you might be getting from online dating or what you've gotten in the past. And you have to understand that they do not correspond in any way to your actual attractiveness to women when you're embodied. It's two different things, okay? The embodied you and the disembodied you are literally like two different entities. There are guys who are extremely photogenic. They look really good in pictures, but when they meet the girl in real life, she immediately knows she's not attracted to them. And there's even more guys who are the reverse. Guys who the girl would never swipe right on you in a million years, but if she meets you in real life and you spend enough time with her, she actually becomes very, very attracted to you. So when I say you are enough to be attractive to any girl, here's what that does not mean. It does not mean that you can necessarily attract every girl or even any girl through online dating or through text messages. That's not the case. When you're trying to get girls through the medium of a phone screen or a computer, You are limited to a very, very narrow slice of who you are, specifically your looks, and even more narrowly, the way you look in pictures, which is probably not even how you actually look in real life. In that medium and within that set of constraints, only about 5% of guys are enough to be attractive to most women, and 95% of guys are not. So get that clear right away. You are enough only applies if this is a girl you can get face to face with in the physical world, with your physical body interacting with her physical body. Women were not evolved genetically to be able to decide whether they're attracted to a man based on photographs. Primitive peoples viewed photographs as a dangerous and frightening technology, and they were entirely right. Photography should be banned and photographers should be imprisoned. But until that happens, just realize photography is not real life. Anything that happens through the medium of phone screens and photography is black magic. Do not get involved with black magic and expect it to work for you unless you really, really know what you're doing. You are enough applies only to organic human interactions, not to black magic interactions that happen through technology. Now, you can learn black magic, but it's an entirely different discipline to learning to be naturally attractive to women, which happens in person. See, when you're in person, when you're embodied, there's a whole set of natural influences that your body is emanating at all times. Things like pheromones, electromagnetic fields. There are subtle micro communications happening through your facial gestures, your mannerisms, your body language, your movement. All of this together makes up your influence over women. And you can think of it like rays coming from the sun. And it's all combining and working to gradually make her more attracted and aroused by you. For example, they did studies that showed that when women inhaled a man's sweaty t-shirt, it actually changed their brain chemistry. They felt more relaxed, they felt calmer, and that's from pheromones. So that's an example of the influence that your masculine energy, your maleness has on women just naturally. It has a sort of calming influence on them. But obviously, none of that can get captured or conveyed by a photograph. And so when a girl is looking at your dating profile, she's basically only experiencing about 5% of who you are. The other 95% of all these other attractive influences that naturally emanate from you in person are not present. It's a bit like how if you take a ray of light and you put it through a spectrum, it actually is composed of 7 different colors. So any ray of light, which seems to be white, is actually made up of these 7 colors. And it's sort of comparable to how what makes a man attractive could be like 7 different things. But in online dating, she only sees one of these rays, which is your looks. But in reality, what actually makes you attractive as a man is looks, pheromones, body language, magnetism, electromagnetism, etc. And so it's like only getting this tiny little sliver of your true self is being conveyed. But that's obviously not enough for the woman to actually become attracted in most cases. And this is why women reject the vast majority of guys in online dating. It's the reason why, if you get a girl's phone number and you're texting her, she'll usually flake you and she won't want to meet up. Because you cannot attract a woman through a screen. It's not possible to do. Once you're at the point of no longer being in front of that girl in person, you need to treat that interaction as if it's essentially over. There's no more attraction possible now. You're limited to whatever attraction you generated in the initial interaction. And yes, follow up with her over text. Try to get her out. Try to get her to meet you for a date physically, and then you can build more attraction when you're with her in person. But understand, in this digital disembodied world of screens and texting, attraction does not exist. The only way you can make that work or build attraction through a screen is with black magic, because these screens and technology and so on are black magic. But if you want to get laid, you've got to talk to girls in person. You've got to approach women in person, and you've got to spend time with the women you approach face to face. If you can do that, she will inevitably become attracted to you. If you do not do that, she will not. But again, guys really, really do not understand this. Even the very best guys, the most confident guys, they'll go up to a girl, they'll chat to her for 2 minutes, then they'll say, "Can I get your number?" And after getting the number, they'll walk away. And that has accomplished precisely 0. You may as well not even have approached her at all. There is no way a woman can possibly become attracted to you in 2 minutes of knowing you. If you text her later, therefore, she will flake 99% of the time. But how do guys interpret that? Well, it reinforces the fundamental delusion. I'm not attractive enough. If I was just more attractive, then she'd be texting me back right now. No, it doesn't work like that, other than in very, very rare edge cases. Even a super handsome rich guy could approach that girl, but if he only spends 2 minutes with her in person, she is not going to become attracted enough to him to actually bother meeting up with him at a later date. Attraction takes time. You are enough to to be attractive to every woman you approach, but the catch is you need to be spending upwards of 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes with those girls you approach for there to be enough time for that attraction to actually develop. Again, this is like cooking a meal in an oven. If you put a fillet of chicken in a hot oven and you take it out after 2 minutes, will it be cooked? No. It will still be almost completely raw. And again, this reinforces the delusion. The guy goes through his life. He tries to cook 5 fillets of chicken, 10 fillets of chicken. But every time, he's only ever putting it in for 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And then he's taking it out again. And every time he takes it out afterwards, the chicken is still raw. And so he says, I just can't cook chicken. My oven fucking sucks. There's something wrong with my oven. I need a new oven. I need a fancier oven. Or he starts blaming the chicken. These modern chickens are just not as good as they used to be. Online dating. What are guys doing there? They're taking a picture of their oven on their phone. They're showing the picture to the raw piece of chicken. They're expecting the picture of the oven to cook the chicken. It's not working. Guys, dating is broken. I don't understand. What could possibly be the problem here? All of this is based on a delusion about how attraction works. The oven is not broken. The oven you have can cook the chicken perfectly fine. You just have to give it some time to do so. It is not going to happen in the first 30 seconds of putting the chicken in the oven. I don't care how good your oven is. It isn't going to happen in the first 10 minutes. It's going to take 20, 25, 30 minutes of exposing that chicken to the heat of the oven for it to cook through and get nice and juicy. Meaning you're not going to be attractive to girls right away, ever. When you approach them, they are not initially going to feel any attraction to you other than in very, very rare cases, like if you just happen to be exactly that girl's type or whatever. And that does happen sometimes, but again, it's very, very rare. The vast majority of girls you approach are not going to be attracted to you initially, and that's fine. You don't need her to be attracted to you in order for her to be okay with having a conversation with you. You just need to be friendly, cool, normal enough for her to feel fine with talking to you. What you want her to feel in the very beginning of the interaction, the first 2 or 3 minutes, is just, this is okay. I can talk to this guy. He seems cool enough. I'm not feeling uncomfortable right now. I don't feel like he's trying to fuck me right away. I don't necessarily feel anything that strongly about this guy, but I'm having a pleasant enough time just chatting to him, being social. This is fine. That's all you need, okay? In the first 3, 5, 10 minutes of talking to a girl, that's all you fucking need. You don't need her to be attracted to you. You don't need her to be dropping to her knees and trying to suck your dick. You just need to be social and chill and laid back enough that she just feels some version of this is fine. Now what happens is that, again, it's like cooking in an oven. It's a slow process, a slow burn. Attraction, the way women experience it, is not this instant light bulb moment. It's a gradual thing that builds over time. And all you need for that to happen is just to approach the girl, spend time with the girl, and not do anything that is actively low value or weird. Example of that would be qualifying yourself. That's a bad habit that a lot of guys have. They agree with everything the girl says, or they say things about themselves to try to impress her or make an impression on her. That's called qualifying yourself. That will fuck up this dynamic. But if you can just talk to her, be friendly and chill, and not supplicate to her, what happens is that over time, that woman is going to naturally start to feel more and more aroused by you. And most of this is not personal. It's not a personality-based thing. It's just about the fact that you have an essential masculine energy that is attractive to a girl. In the same way that she has a feminine energy which is attractive to you. And again, part of this is pheromones, part of it is EMF fields. There's all these things going on between you, this animal magnetism that automatically grows the longer you spend time with a woman in person. It doesn't happen over text, it doesn't happen over online dating, but it will happen if you can spend time with that girl face to face. If you imagine like you've got a kind of field or aura of energy around your body, because you do, and she also has that field, well, when those two fields are in contact for a long enough time, they start to kind of blend together and harmonize and synchronize together. And that's what we call attraction, comfort, familiarity. Now, the other thing that helps you here, this is a little bit difficult to explain, but I'm going to try. When you trust this process that you are enough and that the girl is inevitably going to become more attracted to you the more time you spend with her, it's going to give you a vibe of this kind of very relaxed, self-assured inevitability. And where this gets interesting is because you trust that this process is working for you and you've just got to spend time with the girl, talk to her, chit chat, have a few drinks together, lead her around, whatever it is, you're not going to be doing all the things that guys normally do to try to impress her or make her like them. Even very handsome guys, they typically don't understand this dynamic. Even they believe they have to do something to make the girl like them. They don't know about things like pheromones or the electromagnetic field. They think it is about looks or it is about success, status. And so even those handsome, tall, big, imposing guys, even they believe that they've got to somehow or other impress the girl or make her choose him. And they're less insecure than the typical guy, but even those top guys still have that little niggling doubt of insecurity. And what's funny about insecurity is that, a little is almost as bad as a lot. So what this means is that typically when this girl has talked to guys in the past, she's become accustomed to them acting in a particular way. They have a sort of tenseness to them, like they're smiling a little too hard. Or it's the opposite, they're not smiling at all. They're a little bit too serious, too heavy, they're not lighthearted. And by contrast, when you know that you are enough, when you know the girl inevitably will become attracted to you with time, just because you're a man and she's a woman, there is a kind of a softness to everything you do. You let go. You surrender. You stop trying to make an impression on her. You don't have this kind of rigidness to you that guys normally have when they talk to her. And because of this, it's a little bit of a psychological head trip. The girl is going to start to wonder why you're not trying to impress her the way guys normally do. Like initially she's going to feel like, oh, this guy's not trying to fuck me right away. I like that. I actually feel comfortable here. This guy's not trying to rush things like every other guy does. I like this. But then over time, she's going to start feeling like, why isn't this guy trying to fuck me? Like, I know I'm a good looking girl. Why isn't he trying to impress me at all? This is weird. What's wrong with me? Why doesn't he like me? Why isn't he trying? And so just from the very act of you not trying to fuck her or impress her or game her or do anything that's impressive, she actually starts to doubt herself and feel kind of insecure. And at that point, she's going to start to want you to want her. And so now you've got two different, very powerful forces working for you side by side here. You've got, on one hand, the underlying slow cook of that masculine energy that you are and that is emanating from you at all times. That's slowly making her more and more open to you, more and more aroused by you the longer you spend together. But now you've also got this other force, this psychological force of the girl's ego getting triggered. And her ego is starting to get kind of agitated and to feel like, well, why doesn't this guy want me? Why isn't he trying to impress me like everyone else normally does? Why isn't he licking my ass and agreeing with everything I say like most guys do? And she might not necessarily put in those words, but she feels a difference. There's something she's come to expect and rely on for her self-esteem, a certain chasing energy, a certain tenseness and desire to impress that guys normally have when they talk to her. And because you don't have that tenseness, it actually makes her start to doubt herself. It makes her start to fear that, well, maybe I'm actually not that hot. Maybe I'm not as attractive as what I always thought. This guy doesn't seem to think I'm all that. And so now the girl's ego is getting involved. And the ego is very perverse. The ego always wants what it doesn't have. It hates what it has and it always wants what it doesn't have. If you want a definition of ego, that's almost the core of it. It's always in opposition to the present moment. So the girl will very often feel that, she wants your approval purely because you're the only guy whose approval she isn't getting right now. And it's very interesting. You could be up against, and I have been up against, guys in bars and clubs who are much better looking than me, taller than me, guys who play rugby professionally, like huge beasts of men, who quite frankly make me look like a complete in comparison. But because that guy is chasing the girl just a little bit, because he's qualifying himself to her, because he's giving her that approval and that chasing energy she's come to expect, and because I'm not, she'll choose me over him. And girls have chosen me over guys like this just because of that egoic tendency to want validation from the one person who's not giving it to you. Even if they're the worst option in every other way. Even if her kids with that guy would be far more beautiful, stronger, taller than her kids with me, a lot of girls will still chase me purely because of that egoic perversion of always wanting the person who doesn't want you or doesn't seem to want you. So, in effect, what now happens, and this is the way every single seduction happens, this is the dynamic that always takes place. You've approached the girl, not on a dating website, but in real life with your meat body. You've spent time with her, just hanging out, chilling, talking, leading her around the club or leading her around the park or wherever it is you met her. You trust that you are enough to be attractive to her with time spent together. And so you're not rushing towards any sort of outcome. And over the course of 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, however long it takes, the girl has become more attracted to you on this biological, energetic level, as your pheromones, your electromagnetic field, and things like that begin to influence her, make her relaxed, make her aroused, attracted. She's feeling relaxed with you. She's feeling very comfortable with you. It feels almost like being around a family member rather than a stranger now. You're very, very at ease talking to each other. And on top of all this, this, if she's a beautiful girl, the more beautiful she is, the more she's going to be wondering why you're not making any obvious efforts to impress her or make her like you. And again, if she's beautiful, that's inevitably going to trigger her ego and her own self-doubts and low self-esteem to make her want you to want her, so she can get the validation she feels she should be entitled to. Now, all of that together makes the girl aroused. All of those influences combined together to make her feel this tingly emotion in her mind and her chest, and then eventually between her legs of, you know what? I want this guy. I want him to like me. I'm going to make him like me. And now from that point, things can happen sexually. You know, if you get an opportunity to kiss the girl, she'll usually kiss you back, and she'll be very excited to kiss you because you're finally giving her just a little taste of that validation she wants. She may even kiss you first. She'll let you physically escalate on her. You know, you can put your hands around her waist, kiss her neck, be playfully affectionate, playfully physical. And then, having spent 40 minutes, an hour and a half together, you can say something like, let's go have a drink at mine. And the girl will often say yes. Or if you can't go back to your place, like maybe you live with your parents or something like I used to, you can ask the girl to invite you to her place. You can say something like, you know, where do you live? And when she tells you, you can say, invite me over. Or you could say, you know, if I followed you home, would you keep me? And not always, but very often the girl will say yes. And especially if you've done a good job keeping the tension there and not quite letting her know whether or not she has you. If she doesn't say yes, that's fine. You can just drop the topic, talk about something else, spend more time with her, let her get more comfortable, and then try again later. And so either the girl will eventually come back to your place or take you with her to her place. And when you're alone, that's obviously where sex can happen. Or even if she doesn't, you know, the odds are at this point, you're going to get the best possible non-flaky number you could have gotten, because the longer the time you spent with the girl, the less likely she is to flake you after you get the number. Now, that being said, the moment you walk away having gotten a number, it could always go either way at that point. So do try to pull her home to isolation that same night and be as persistent about that as you possibly can. You know, even at the point of walking her home, you know, walking her to her door, stay with her till the bitter fucking end. You know, do everything you can to stay with her as long as possible. That way, not only are you improving your chances of actually sleeping with her, but you also make it more and more likely you'll get a phone number that actually doesn't flake. So that is how the attraction process actually happens. It's very, very different from the way it works in guys' heads, the way it works in people's imaginations. In your imagination, you think that you're supposed to walk up to the girl and she's meant to get attracted right away, and that's not how it works ever. Or that, you know, she's supposed to look at a photo of you and immediately decide like, yeah, I want to date this guy, I want to fuck this guy, I want to have his babies. Again, it's not how it works. You are enough to be attractive to any woman on this earth, but it takes time spent together face to face with your physical bodies. Now, one final caveat with this. When I say that you will be attractive to any girl if you just spend enough time with her, one objection to that which you might have is, well, you know, I've done that with girls in the past, but I ended up getting stuck in the friend zone with them. And that's true. And that's why for this dynamic to work for you, you've got to make sure there's just a little bit of physicality and physical interaction between you and the girl. That's how you stop the interaction going into the friend zone, and you make sure that in her mind it's very obvious by the vibe that this is a man to woman interaction, not a friend to friend interaction. I have a video on this, you know, how to touch women casually in conversation. It's called 6 Innocent Touches That Make a Girl Horny Without Creeping Her Out. You can watch that on my channel later. So just bear that in mind, because, you know, what I've said here about the girl will be attracted to you just through time spent together, that can lead to the friend zone if there's no touching happening between you at all. Like, you know, I'm sure you've had times, and I had times when I was younger where I did spend a lot of time with a girl, but it was just friendly and there was no sexuality to it. Then when I did eventually try to make a move, it was like, no, dude, like I don't see you that way. So to prevent that, you do need to have some level of physical rapport, you know, just playful touching. And this is things like, you know, initially you can just pat her on the arm or on the shoulder while you're talking to her, you know, to make a point. And a little later you can try putting your arm around her for a while. And you don't want to make any big physical moves. Like, it shouldn't be like, I'm making a move on you now, you know, what do you think of this? It's just very casual, like, you know, tapping her on the arm, patting her on the shoulder from time to time, putting your arm around her for a while, then you take it away again a little later, just establishing that nice physical rapport that lets the girl know, like, okay, this is a man, you know, he's not afraid to get physical with me, he's comfortable touching me, and if we're alone together, you know, something sexual is probably going to go down. And that's all you need to avoid the friend zone. That plus time and isolation equals sex. Very, very simple. Very intuitive once you start getting this down. And this is how you get to a point where you can pull a new girl home for sex, you know, pretty much every weekend. Okay, once again, make sure to download your free book right now while I'm still giving it away for free. It's called The Ultimate Guide to Making Women Approach You, no matter your looks, age, or money. Click the link in the pinned comment below to get that right now. Also, make sure to sign up for my email newsletter. You're seriously missing out if you don't. Again, you'll be subscribed automatically once you download that free book. Click the link to get it now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the other side.